There have been a couple of studies in the past 6 years where they've looked at pet food and they've done some DNA analysis in different products. And they have been able to match some of the DNA that's in the pet food to endangered species of sharks like the short-fin mako shark, which is near and dear to the SAFE program, as we have done a lot of policy action around protection for the species of mako shark. They found blue sharks, they found silky sharks, white tip reef sharks, all sharks that are potentially threatened or endangered.
This comes back to the concepts of overfishing and bycatch Paul and Wendy were explaining earlier, but highlights another important issue in pet food, and that's transparency. Most seafood used in pet food is labeled vaguely as ocean fish or whitefish, which aptly represents the way a lot of these fish are actually caught, right? Think about smaller fish naturally school, meaning they huddle together for protection. And when you have a school of fish, you'll also have hunters looking for their next meal. So when you're dropping down a giant net onto a school of fish and multiple different species, it's not surprising that something else might get caught by mistake.
When those fish have heavy metals like lead or mercury or different thing, cadmium that they've ingested, as it works its way up through the food chain, it biomagnifies and it gets more saturated. And as pet owners, our pets are our family, and we don't want to feed our pets food that could potentially harm them. And so a lot of this meat may not have been tested for these heavy metals or these things that we wouldn't want to be feeding our animals. Even if we don't care about sharks, we care about our pets. So I think, traceability and having some transparency in labeling is really important as we move forward to ensure that these threatened and endangered sharks aren't ending up in our pet food.
Transparency sounds easy when we're talking about it like this, but in reality, it can get really complicated really fast.
There is still, in a lot of parts of the world, there's a lack of ability to define what species is being caught. And there are large groups of shark that all look very, very similar. And so what you end up with is a kind of when the sharks are landed, you end up with a bucket labeled sharks, and everything goes in. That traceability that we need in the supply chain goes way back to the fisheries. It means working with the fisheries enforcement officers, and with the people in the markets to be able to define what species are being caught and where, so that traceability can follow right through to the consumer. And then the consumer can make informed choices. And it's not necessarily that all shark products cannot be caught in a sustainable way. As I mentioned before, there could be sustainable shark products making their way into the market, but we have to know that, and we have to know the traceability.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that, at Safe Shark and Ray, we're not just talking about this, but we are trying to walk the walk, as they say. We have a sustainable seafood initiative where we're working with zoos and aquariums to ensure the sustainability of the feed for the animals in their care. So looking at what is in their freezers and are these sustainably harvested fish? We're doing nutritional analysis on the most common feeds. We're working with Seafood Watch, which has a sustainable feed program that is primarily for human consumption. So it's not necessarily comparing apples to apples at times, because a lot of the fish that we're feeding our animals are not for human consumption. So we're working with Seafood Watch to get those species assessed and rated for sustainability as well. But we are trying to work within our industry to ensure that we are only purchasing sustainable fish to feed the animals in our care.